Welcome back, and today we're playing out the new event vehicle, the IAR-93B in the Italian tech tree. Now, this might not be the worst Romanian plane in the game, because the IAR-81C exists as well. And let me tell you, they actually share a lot of similarities. Both have very good flaps, both lock up quite badly at high speed. They're pretty okay at like medium speed with a singular turn, but the engine doesn't exist, nor does the acceleration, and they are pretty slow. And if you have a little bit of a keen eye, then you know that those things really hinder each other. You have a plane that you want to keep fast because you don't have the acceleration, but you can't keep it fast because you will lock up quite badly. Because you lock up, you want to keep it slow, but you can't because you don't have a functional engine. And you don't really have any speed retention whatsoever. Overall, this plane has a window where it's effective between like 650 to 800 kilometers an hour, but it's very hard to maintain this. At high speed, one of the redeeming qualities is the fact that it doesn't lose any speed. Mainly because it doesn't really turn very well. You can see that I'm pulling AGs, I'm maintaining my speed quite decently. If I put a little bit of vertical in it, it will start losing it rather quickly, because at the end of the day, the engines don't like going over the horizon whatsoever. But this is one of the two redeeming qualities. The other quality is the absolute opposite. The flaps are very strong on this thing and don't really rip off at all. You can deploy these at pretty high speeds and you will turn into an absolute UFO for a few seconds, because you will not be able to maintain this turn whatsoever, as your speed will drop very quickly, and these engines are not good enough to sustain it for a longer period of time. This plane is extremely bipolar in what it likes to do, in what it likes to be flown as, and you just kind of have to hope that the situation arises in the game where you can utilize your strengths. At the end of the day, most of it is all about, well, surprising your enemy. There's a Harrier coming in here and I need to turn in. He is going to catch me. We aren't very fast. He has SRAMs. That's probably the GL1. So I need to be able to actually get out of his nose. We air brake a little bit. And then we pull up over his nose and we start dropping the flaps. And you will see here that this thing starts turning extremely tightly. And I basically get the shot instantly. But also look at my speed. I am now going 400 and I am behind him. But this plane really doesn't like being at low speed at all. It feels very wobbly. It doesn't like to do what you want it to do. Luckily, the Harrier also feels absolutely terrible at low speed, especially if you don't use the Vifing or the VTOL. Luckily, at these speeds, the Harrier is never going to be dodging these missiles. And the missiles that it's carrying are basically R3s. Don't expect too much from them. I do carry 4 of them. Now, I do recommend you after the fact to actually carry one of the rocket poles on one of the inner pylons. Because, well, at this point I was losing it. I'm running Kickstart My Heart in the background. You might hear it very faintly. Because I was just trying to ball out and get as many kills as quickly as possible. Because I already knew that this plane was going to make me lose my mind. So we go after this Saab. The second I shoot a missile, he bails out because his wingtip got clipped off. And we start going for the F-84F. Now, he is in a pretty okay position for me to actually go for, but I can't go too steeply because I will compress. Now, this is one of my earlier games and I'm not really aware of it yet. I dropped the afterburner, I dropped the air brakes, and if that tree was 5 meters closer, or there was a slight mountain in front of me, I definitely would have died. That is full lock on the stick, and this thing does not like moving the second you go over 900 kilometers an hour, if not 850 to 800. We try to maintain our speed by going into a shallow climb, and we start flying towards the F3H, who is engaging one of my F-84s. Now, he's probably going to send it a little bit. He's going decently slow, so I know that I can pick this guy off pretty quickly. The F3H really isn't a threat as long as he isn't directly on your 6. So we kind of swipe him up, because if you haven't noticed yet, the guns on this thing hit extremely hard. We have 2 Geshushi 23s, which basically means you have 4 barrels. Now the trigger time here is basically non-existent. It's the same as something like a MiG-21. But at 9.0, yeah, the ballistics are pretty mediocre. Yeah, they're kind of annoying to aim. But man, if you get the guns on with this thing, you're gonna turn planes into absolute dust. Now we go for the Saab 105 here. And this guy is going to be absolutely oblivious to us. But I want to show you something that has been going on lately. It's invisible missiles. Don't worry about the fact I shot that missile. I don't know why I did it either. And there it is. Absolute jump scare and a half. I get Freddy Fazbear by an invisible missile that actually looks like he appeared behind me. The missile was his. I checked the replay. He shot that missile at me. And I feel like most of the missile kills that I am getting are also invisible missiles. I'm not entirely sure. But I've been getting so many kills with the AIM-9Bs where I'm like 900 to maybe even 500 meters behind people and no one reacts to them. So I'm not sure if no one can see them. But overall it's made this plane a little bit more flyable. I'm just trying to get these missiles off as quickly as possible because they absolutely kill your performance. When you have 4 of these missiles on, it barely feels like a plane anymore. Well, I mean, it doesn't feel like a plane where you don't have missiles on, but it's even worse when you do. Is there a way to play this thing? Sure. Is it an attacker? Sure, but even as an attacker, it doesn't really have much. Yes, it has a ballistic computer. Yeah, it has rockets and some dumb bombs, but overall, I don't really see a reason to really fly this thing when we literally have the G91R4 at 8.7. It's a low BR, it has better ordnance, it has the Nords. This thing doesn't really have anything going for it, and I think it's a shame. Now, I do like the fact that it's unique. It gives me a bit of a challenge because it's like different to other planes. You can actually surprise people with it because they aren't aware of what the plane handles like. And overall, that makes for like a pretty decent fun experience for a couple of games, but it's something that I don't really like doing once you figured it out. I now know that I can abuse the fact against like something like a MiG-21 that I can just have high speed turn all day long, and if he pulls too hard, I can stall him out. I know that if I drop the flaps, I can have a singular turn, and if I miss the shot, well, I'm cooked. But overall, for most games, it's all about finding enemies that allow you to kill them, like this F9F right here. He stalled himself out, I go to help my teammate, but these are kills that I can get in any planes, and they don't really feel rewarding. Now, it does feel rewarding to hit someone with 400 rounds of 23mm that come out of your barrels in like 4 seconds, because the burst mass here is insane. And overall, I think I've only gotten hits twice. The guns feel pretty good. Normally, I'm not really a big fan of the GSH-23, but you know, at 9.0 against planes that are this slow, it's fun to turn planes into literal vapor. Now here we're trying to maintain our speed, and I'm showing you once again that the main, or the retention here is pretty decent. The F-84F is coming in, and he's shooting at one of my teammates. I'm trying to loop in behind him. I'm trying to not compress, but I'm also trying to make sure that I have a little bit of speed so I can actually catch him. But I notice that the F-84F is full sending it, so I'm going to air brake a little bit here so I'm actually able to turn back into him here. Go up, open up the loop a little bit to have just a bit more room, and then at 700-ish, we can very easily dive back down on him and kill one of the saddest planes in the entire bracket. We saw his wing off, and we look for our last little victim. Now at this point, we still have 136 rounds left, and it might look like a decent amount, but keep in mind that it's just over 25% of our total ammo. It's actually almost exactly 33%. You go through it very quickly, and we have 2 sabers left that I do want to lick up, because at this point I am seeing red, I'm hearing Kickstart My Heart in the background, and I really want to just get more kills than 7. Why? I don't know. It's just kind of funny when you're flying an absolute shit brick like this thing is. Now, the F-86 here is kind of surfing between the canyon. I'm never going to catch this thing, but then he turns around, and he's actually going to engage multiple of us at the same time. We do want to air brake, because I don't want to lose all my position early on. Keep looking around, because I know there is a second guy somewhere. And we get pretty decent position here because the Saber actually goes for my teammate, and now I'm able to kind of dive on top of him. Be careful that we don't overshoot. Position here is going to be absolutely key, so we air brake a little bit. We line up the shot, and he just rolls out of the way. Squeeze a second time, we just overlead it a little bit. He then rolls out of the way again, and then the last burst actually takes his wingtip off. Now we have 10 rounds left. We wasted on trying to finish and whiff it again. He's gonna crash into the ground, or rather he bails out. And then the last F2 Saber that I thought I might actually be able to kill here after landing and taking off, unfortunately dies to a MiG-15 without any fuel. Here are the rewards. Thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and you will see me all in the next one.